Welcome back to the Development Book Club. Today we're continuing with the Book of Joy, and we'll cover the second half of the obstacles to joy, of which there are 4. We will begin with loneliness, and more on the scientific side. The author, Douglas Abrams, not Adams, but Abrams, mentions a study where they found that people who disproportionately use the words I, me, and mine have significantly greater risk of having a heart attack. And the Dalai Lama is repeatedly suggesting throughout the entire book that we focus on others as a means to cure our own suffering. That the more focus on ourselves, that will inevitably lead to suffering. We're focusing on others, and compassion in that sense is a cure for our own suffering. Number 2 is envy, and there is a sharing of a Tibetan teaching which says what causes suffering are relationships to others, in the sense that there is envy toward those who are above, competition towards those who are equal, and contempt towards those who are lower. It's quite concise and true. And here the idea of mudita, which is translated as sympathetic joy, is discussed as an antidote to envy. And this is why I originally picked this book, to go along with loving kindness, sympathetic joy, equanimity, and compassion, the 4 Brahma Viharas, or heavenly abodes in Buddhism. And I'd like to share a quote from Jinpa, who is the Dalai Lama's translator. He explained how mudita works. He says, if someone has something that we want, say a bigger house, we can consciously take joy in their good fortune by telling ourselves, quote, good for him, just like me, he too wants to be happy. He too wants to be successful. He too wants to support his family. May he be happy. I congratulate him and want him to have more success, unquote. So this idea of sympathetic joy, mudita, recognizes that life is not a zero-sum game, that there is not just one slice of cake where everyone else takes some means less for me. It says joy is limitless, actually. That's a really cool sharing. The penultimate roadblock to joy is suffering and adversity. And the Dalai Lama here shares that suffering is what makes you appreciate the joy. Here it is noted that the spoiled, pampered children were the very first to die in Auschwitz. And the Dalai Lama asks if suffering, and this is a huge topic for Buddhism, right? That's the first noble truth, is the existence of suffering or unsatisfactoriness, dukkha. If it's a problem, or is it an opportunity to remain firm and maintain our composure, which is not I don't generally see it approached in that sense from Buddhists, and I know Dalai Lama comes from a different tradition than what we're usually looking at here. However, it is interesting to look at, instead of like eliminating sufferings, embracing it, and to have more of an equanimous relationship with suffering than one of aversion. Ultimately, we have illness and the fear of death. Of course, Dalai Lama shares another great quote. He says, when we are dead, it does not really matter, but it is the fear of its death's approaching, of the suffering that often precedes death, and ultimately the fear of the oblivion and the loss of our personhood that frightens us. These have been, this video and the last have been all of the obstacles to joy. In the next one, we will take a look at the pillars or supports of joy. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you then.